Hey guys, Josh here with CNN, where we notice things, we notice patterns, we don't ignore them. Just wanted to touch base on some findings I've had and updates on upcoming protests and events and the traction they're starting to get. Um, anyway, so today is the 7th, the day after the 5th anniversary of the January 6th riots, the meandering, as some like to call it. I know there was a big protest yesterday in DC. I could not make it out. I didn't even know about it until a few days ago, but I guess I should do my research. I do know some people that were there. A lot of leftists showed up to protest the people that were, standing up for their rights. A lot of it was because of the murder of Ashley Babbitt, as we know, completely unjustified. The cop that shot her, his name escapes me, but totally, she was climbing through a window, I believe, and just shot from, I don't know, 20 feet away or something. I believe that guy's, completely off, no issue, no trial, free. Whereas a lot of the people that were there that day exercising their right obviously rotted in prison, and some of them died, as we saw. So it's good they had that. I know there was thousands there, but again, protesters on the other side, saying, "Oh, Ashley Babbitt, she was armed, she deserved to die." These people are just filth. The same people that cheered for Charlie Kirk's murder, they cheered when Trump was shot. Just disgusting, vile people. They're fueled by Satan, all of them, whether they know it or not. Most of them don't know it. Most of them are just brainwashed. I think they're human. I don't know about all of them, but man, they are so lost. Anyway, so yeah, today's Wednesday. Monday, there's supposed to be a protest in Olympia, Washington, a couple hours from me. So I am planning on going to that. I encourage anybody who can take the day off, do it, drive out, fly out, whatever you got to do. If you're local, great. I encourage you to show up. What's one day off of work, one day without pay, or one day you got to use PTO if it means making a difference and potentially getting these people out of our way, getting rid of this garbage tax system we have, this slave system. As many of you probably know, the Civil War, they like to convince everyone, oh, it was to end slavery. That was the whole purpose, because all the people in the North, they were just so good and so righteous and hated slavery, and the people in the South are just so evil and racist. And then somehow the parties switched later, and that's why now the Republicans are the racist ones, even though back in the day it was the Republicans, in the North trying to end slavery. Their narrative's all skewed and doesn't make any sense, as many of you probably know. And if you don't, I'm sorry, but look into it, do your research. We see this movement starting to gain some traction. I'm seeing thousands of likes, shares, retweets, all of that. So I am planning on going. If it was something I didn't feel was getting any traction, I wouldn't make the drive. It is very last minute, just like the one was on Saturday in Salem. There's a few hundred people there. Hopefully this one's bigger. I am hoping for and pushing for a April 15th, a real, mass protest, whether that be at every Capitol building or every IRS or the main IRS building. I need to look into that and see where, what's going to make the biggest impact. But I would like to get that organized, not just me. It's going to take all of us. And that's the thing. We can't wait for, Trump to fix this. We can't wait for a politician to fix this. We see where that gets us. There's little wins in politics here and there, but overall, it's just a constant L. Since I was born, really, people, tax-paying people, white people, conservatives, whatever you want to say, the people that care about this country have just taken L's. And, a lot of them, they just continue to take it and not do anything about it. Again, as I said before, they're too content. I said this in my last video, so addicted to football, whatever sport of choice they watch, video games, porn, internet, social media, whatever keeps them occupied, McDonald's, their hobbies, whatever it is, whatever they like to put their money into, the little bit that they have left, that's enough for them, and they don't want to rock the boat. It's up to us. It would be nice to get some bigger influencers, on our team, and I know there are some on our team, but as far as the big ones, the big players, they don't want to rock the boat. They're going to talk about what everybody else is talking about. They may bring this up, they may mention it, but they're not going to push for this tax strike. I haven't seen it from any pages with more than 50, 100,000 followers. So hopefully it does trend upward and bigger channels start to push this. Influencers, it'd be nice to have some big names promoting this. And I know there are some, I keep seeing posts. Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about it, which kind of makes sense. And she's leaving politics. And I don't blame her for that, because how can you get anything done in such a corrupt system, right? Today I spent a little time, well, actually yesterday and today, probably only got about an hour to look into it. I figured with all the Nick Shirley stuff, why not try to find some local Somali daycares, or it doesn't have to be Somali, but any foreign based, non-English speaking as a primary language, promoted as daycares, or even like elder care centers. I'm trying to find stuff like that. And I did find a lot of companies, I guess, or businesses, daycares, whatever you want to call them. But it's funny when you try to go to their websites, it's impossible to get any real contact info in most of these places. I did find a couple of numbers, a couple of emails. I didn't send any emails yet, but I called the numbers. Both of them just went right to voicemail, no callbacks, nothing like that. When I looked for the addresses on some of these places in Portland, Oregon, for example, and Vancouver, Washington, you try to find the address, and it's funny, on the website, it'll show it on maps. You zoom in, it's in the middle of a park. It's not even at a building. It's just at the middle of a park. So there's no address associated, no way to get a hold of these people. It'll just be the name of the daycare and maybe a name or two associated with it. And if you're lucky, you'll get a number and an email address. That's what I've noticed. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to go out to any of these centers to ask questions and to try to get my kids enrolled in their daycares, or maybe my elderly parent or grandparent. It's just, I haven't been able to actually contact anybody. They make it really hard. But you go on these websites, and they are supposedly legitimate websites, and I have to assume a lot of these places are getting a lot of that funding. Now, I haven't verified that yet. I did go on some government websites that are supposed to be transparent as far as where the money's going and which companies are getting it. And those websites, without a lot of time to look into how they work, they're not super user friendly. It's like they were designed in the 90s and hardly updated. And, you put in a ton of different keywords and nothing comes up. So I urge any of you guys, if you can find any of these places, throw it in the comments, message me, whatever. I'd like to go and expose some of these places, post the videos, just so we can get the word out locally. Obviously, we see it. I did see some stuff in Seattle, I believe, and then obviously Minnesota. There's been a lot of people, a lot of independent journalists actually doing journalism, as opposed to the media. They don't seem to do their job at all. But it's time for us to wake up. I don't know if you guys know this, but the only demographic statistically that puts in more to this system than takes out, as far as tax dollars go and fees and however else they take our money, are white people. Maybe Japanese people, maybe, but I don't think so. I haven't found that yet. I need to dig deeper, but do your research. But essentially, all other demographics in this country, whether they were born here or they're not, whether they're legal or not, they take more than they give into the system. So they're stealing from the people that are putting in more into the system than are taking. And it is a race thing. It's not all minorities that are taking like this, but it's the majority of them. It's probably 80+%. As we see with the Somalis, I think it's like 85, 90% of them are unemployed and collect benefits and stay home. So why do they even need daycares if they're all at home anyway, right? Just such a scam, so much fraud. And the fact that we continue to pay these politicians is just ridiculous. I've been looking into, the legal ways to get out of the tax thing, so that people have more peace of mind when they do go exempt, and they're not in fear that in 3 or 5 or 8 years, the government, the IRS, is going to come after them and actually try to garnish their wages, take their house, take their car, throw them in jail, whatever it is, whatever people are afraid of. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the state citizen thing. That seems to be a route a lot of people have apparently done. I need to talk to some more. I've messaged some, and there's a lot of good information on YouTube talking about it, different channels. I'm not going to name any right now because I'm just getting into the space, so I don't want to say, oh, follow this guy and he's actually full of shit and leading us in the wrong direction. But I do implore everybody to look into that, the state citizen thing. Also, just going exempt on your W-4. You can get that from your employer legally. They cannot ask questions if you want to go exempt every week. They can't change that. That's up to you as the employee. So we have that right to keep the money we earn. And when you look into it, it does seem like only foreigners and people working for foreigners is what I'm understanding, and businesses and whatnot are actually constitutionally supposed to pay taxes. You as a U.S. citizen or a state citizen, American citizen, assuming you're naturalized here, legally we're not even supposed to be paying taxes under the Constitution. So I do think that they've, created this mafia scare tactic system, and people just comply. And when everyone complies, it's hard to resist that because everyone wants to go with the grain. Everyone wants to be a sheep, and I get it. It's comfortable. People don't want to rock the boat. But yeah, again, you're not gonna see I don't think, I hope I'm wrong, but you're not gonna see a Tucker Carlson. You're not gonna see a Gavin McInnes even. You're not gonna see any of those type of people at that level, or even a little bit below. Nick Fuentes. Yeah, they're controversial, but I just don't see them pushing for this. Maybe they haven't looked into it. Maybe they're not educated. I hope that's all it is, and I hope the more this is brought to light, the whole tax thing, I hope they do start talking about it. I hope this movement can really get bigger people on board. And but the thing is, a lot of those people make so much money. Why would they want to rock the boat? They're going to be the first one to be made an example of, right? To scare the rest of us. Yeah, they could take me and punish me if I didn't pay my taxes, I guess. But not too many people are going to hear about that. But imagine if someone with 50,000, 200,000, a million followers, 10 million followers, imagine if someone like that was behind this movement. They would obviously make an example of someone like that to scare the rest of us. That's just my thought on that. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Anyway, back to the demographic thing. It's just been on my mind. There's so much entitlement amongst minorities. Obviously, they're brought up to hate this country, to hate white people, to hate Christianity, to hate God. Not all of them, but good majority. They constantly ask for reparations. They get reparations, right? Free housing, EBT, SNAP. They get so many handouts in so many ways. I want reparations for all the money we paid. I want some of that back, right? Why don't we get reparations? And they say black people specifically, a lot of them ask for reparations and demand it, feel entitled to it because, their ancestors, they were enslaved. They were enslaved 200 years ago. Well, what about my ancestors that died in the war fighting for people's rights today? What about all the white people that died in World War I and World War II? And all the other wars, let's not forget, currently still happening. But just think about the millions and millions of white people that died in complete atrocities. A lot of them just starved, killed by their own government, killed in war, fighting for their country, whatever it is. Obviously, all those wars, in my opinion, they're pretty much all unjust. I think the U.S. needs to be a lot more isolationist. We don't need to get involved with everything. We don't need to send our men to war. And I think other countries should follow that same model. And I think there would be a lot less war. But where are my reparations? My ancestors had it tough. They had to work hard. A lot of them died. Terrible atrocities. Terrible, terrible. A lot worse than slavery. So you're saying you had to do farm work for a couple hundred years. Not you. Your ancestors had to do farm work. Well, you look at white people, they had to do farm work too. They also had to go to war before this country had, 10 plus, 15% black, and on all the other minorities. Before that, when it was truly a majority white country, we had to go to wars. There was drafts. Why aren't we up in arms about getting our reparations? The government, the federal government, the state government, they totally screw us constantly every year, and it gets worse and worse, and we see that. So where's our reparations? That's what I'm saying. I'm not calling for reparations, but if they're going to ask for it, then why don't we get it? We're more entitled to it than them. You had to pick cotton for 2 months? Okay. I'd rather do that than a lot of the jobs I've done in my life. I used to work 12, 13, 14 hours a day working in a muddy ditch, digging holes, doing concrete. That's a lot worse than farm work, in my opinion. And don't give me that shit about them constantly getting beaten, not getting fed well. They were fed well, right? They were supposed to work. They couldn't be hungry all day. You're not going to have a really hardworking person if they're starving. Also, I'm sure it happened once or twice, maybe three times. But all the grapes they talk about, from slave owners to the slaves, that's just a myth. That's just a myth. Imagine slave owner rapes one of the female slaves, one of the house slaves, whatever. Wouldn't you think that her brother and her dad and the friends, the other Negroes of the community, the other slaves, don't you think they'd be up in arms? And now that guy's worried. These people have farm equipment, farm tools, and you just raped their daughter or sister. I think that there was a little bit more common sense on the side of the master back then. But anyway, I don't want to talk about slavery too much. There's so many lies about that. They rewrite history. They rewrite the news the day it comes out. So imagine what they can do after 5, 10 years, 100 years, 200 years. A lot of history is just completely made up. As the quote is, history is written by the victor. Funny though, brings me to today. I talked to my mom, and she randomly, out of nowhere, I didn't even know what she was asking at first. She says, "Where in the Bible does it say that we need to be racist?" Now, my mom, she's not very political, but she grew up or I grew up, with them having Fox News on. So, they're on that typical kind of right wing Fox News conservatives, and they still watch it to this day. Can't get them off of it. It's really, really sad that they haven't been able to see the deception even amongst the conservative media. But anyway, she says, "Where in the Bible does it say you have to be racist?" And I didn't want to say it because I don't even think it's worth the argument. I don't know why she even brought it up, but I'm just thinking, where does it say not to be racist? There's 10 commandments. There's a lot of other Old Testament laws and stuff. I know we're supposed to love our neighbor, but it never says you need to invite everyone into your country that looks different than you, or is impoverished, or comes from a different land. There's a reason that Africa is separated by thousands of miles of water and thousands of miles of basically unsurvivable desert to the north. It's almost like God didn't want them to come here, but since they are, we have that problem to deal with. Now, it's not all of them, obviously. Jamal at church with the kids and the wife and the big smile, great people. Nothing against them, right? But there's a lot of shitheads in this country. Let's just say that, and they get away with a lot of stuff they shouldn't. But back to the Bible, not being racist, or where does it say to be racist? Well, it does say, and I didn't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about this, but it does say to take the speck out of your own eye, or to take the log out of your own eye before taking the speck out of your brother's eye, right? So essentially, get your house in order, get your own life in order, get your family in order first, right? And then get your community in order, get everything in check, your state, your nation, and then you can help other people. But it doesn't say, oh, well, everyone needs to become your neighbor. That's not a thing. I don't think God ever intended for us to allow people just to come in our house and sleep and risk that they may do something to our family, or take what is ours. I do believe biblically personal property is totally fine and totally acceptable, right? I don't think anyone would argue that, any Christians would argue that. But I'm just fed up with the way things are. How someone can go stab some homeless person, and the homeless person's not going to show up to court. No one's going to press charges, so that animal gets off, no problem, no charge, nothing. Free stabbing, right? Yeah, it's just okay to kill bums, I guess, now, or to stab bums, right? No big deal if no one's going to press charges. It's really sad that it's come this far, and men have just become so pussified. I see it since the last few days, since I've been, I started some social medias and stuff. So many men they're the ones that are giving me pushback, and other people that believe like me, they're the ones saying, "Oh no, you really think you're going to make a difference? You really think, no, just keep paying taxes. The only things that are certain are taxes and death." And they just keep pushing that narrative. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. If you don't want a part in this, then don't be a part of it. Just shut up and get out of the way, because you're a pussy, you're gay, you're not a man. Men stand up for their families, for their rights, and they don't allow thieves to come in every night and take from them every week, every paycheck. That's not how it should go. The patriotic spirit from the 1700s, the late 1700s, 1800s, it seems to have dwindled by about 90%. Now there's still some strong men, so I'm calling you guys and any of you men that need to tighten things up, figure it out. Stop watching porn, go work out, do your research, read a book, love your family. If you don't have a family, there you go. You have a lot of free time. Let's make something of this country. Come on, guys. Let's do this. So anyway, I encourage anybody who can to come Monday, take off work, and we're gonna, hopefully make something happen. At the very least, these people will see us, see we mean business, and I pray this is the first of many. I pray that people don't get fatigued and they stay strong and stick to the task. And that task is taking our country back. Revitalizing the Constitution and letting these people, these politicians know that we no longer abide by their rule. They cannot, this mafia does not run this country. We run this country. We have the strength. We have, 400 million guns in this country. That's the biggest military in the world, as far as I know. I guess it wouldn't be a military, but a militia, maybe, if needed. Now, I'm not calling for violence, of course, but in this country, if someone comes after you, if someone shoots, you're allowed to defend yourself. So I think it's time we start standing up for ourselves and exercising our rights. Let's go out to these places, the IRS buildings, government buildings. Let's make videos of these corrupt politicians. Let's ask them hard questions. Let's embarrass them. Just like Nick Shirley, right? Tim Walz is apparently stepping down, and that is a direct response from Nick Shirley's content that was released about Somalia. Now, hopefully, he's more than just stepping down. Hopefully, he's thrown behind bars for good, because at best, he did nothing and knew about it. At worst, he had a lot to do with this situation, a lot to do with the billions and billions of fraud in that state alone. But just think about all the other politicians in all the states. There's a magnifying glass on him right now, and maybe they're like thinking, "Oh, we'll set him, we'll set him to the wayside," kind of like the mafia. Well, this guy no longer is an asset. Get rid of him. Maybe he wasn't truly part of the family, and maybe they're thinking that'll pacify the people. But we need to remember that Tim Walz exists in every state. And there are multiple politicians. In fact, I would think that most politicians have a little bit of Tim Walz in them. So I encourage everyone to do what Nick Shirley did and what I'm hoping to do, and other people, and expose these creeps that take our dollars to fund terrible things, atrocities, wars, abortion, and then just handouts for people who do not deserve it, who do not work for it. They incentivize laziness, and rather than incentivizing hard work. And by incentivizing laziness, they are promoting the government state, the daddy government state, and people seem to love it. A lot of them do. And a lot of these people coming here, they don't know anything about America, right? They come here because it makes sense financially. They are going to get handouts. They're going to get citizenship. They can bring their families here. They can mooch out the system. They don't understand how this country works. They do not have American culture. Ellis Island, right? We brought a lot of people here 100 years ago, 100 plus years ago. At that time, the nation did not have a large population, but at this point, there's no room for anyone else. In fact, I think we need to get rid of about 50 million people, all the illegals. And I hate to say it, but a lot of their kids, I don't hate to say it. No, a lot of their kids too. I'm sorry, but if you come here, you have a kid and you leave, and now your kid has citizenship. No, that's a scam. That should not be how it works. That should not. You shouldn't be able to come here and get married and automatically become a citizen, or come here, get pregnant, kids born, and then leave, and now you have an easy access into the country. That's not how it should work. But unfortunately, it does, and people take advantage, and the government wants them to take advantage to crumble the system for us, to give them more power, as we see with COVID, with all these events, 9/11, whatever it is. Terrible things happen. Government creates a solution, but that solution always seems to take away more of our rights. So I just pray that people stand up and fight. Men become men again. Stop being women. Stop letting your woman tell you what to do. There are some great women, but a lot of them are just very controlled by emotion. We do not need to be listening to women and, oh, your wife tells you, oh no, this isn't worth it, this isn't worth it. We'll tell her to shut up because you're the man, and this is important. Do you care about your kids' future? Do you care about their kids' future? It seems very selfish how many people are just willing to roll over like a cowardly dog and let the government continue to pounce on them and take everything they want, not considering how much worse it's going to be for their kids and their kids' kids. Not only the tax situation, but the crime situation, which is just out of control. Police, they at best they show up 30 minutes after the crime happens and they take a report and they might look into it. At worst, they arrest the people who are innocent and let the criminals go. And that seems to be more and more common, especially when a lot of these police that are being hired now are minorities. They are from other countries. They do not have the American culture. They've never watched, as Gavin McInnes said today, they've never watched The King of Queens. They never watched Friends. They never watched, and these shows, it's garbage, waste of time. But they don't have the same culture. Things are different. You look at where they come from, cities of trash, mountains of trash in India. You let enough of them here, you let in enough of them in this country, and you will have mountains of trash here too. We're seeing that in the cities, and it's just going to grow if we let it. So we need to stand up and fight against these people. Thank you, guys. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on X, Schnoz Gentile. Thank you.